Okay, YouTube, it is Sunday morning, about 10 o'clock, November 22nd. And in this video, I'm going to share a little something with you I tried just yesterday. And we're going to be talking about E85 gasoline, or flex fuel. And what we did was, we put some in the Torino just to see what would happen. Now, before I tell you more about how that went down, first of all, flex fuel, or E85, is, from what I read, is 85% ethanol mixed with, I guess, regular gasoline, or who knows what else they mix with it. But of course, you're always, you heard the stories. Only way you can run it is, I guess, a lot of people think, buy a new car with the flex fuel emblems on it, which means probably a $50,000 car or more nowadays. But I've been doing some research. A lot of the old school hot rodders, not all of them, but some of them are very skeptical about it. They kind of believe that they're going to take our regular fuel away from us. We won't be able to drive our older cars and all that, but that's not the case. And I'm going to explain to you what happened when I put E85 in this car. And so we'll start off with I'm going to tell you a little bit about the engine. It's just a mild 429. It is a Cobra Jet block. It supposedly came out of a police car, but it does have 4-bolt mains, and I believe the 3 or 4 middle caps. It's got 4-bolt mains in all the caps, except for the 2 end ones in the rear and the front. It does not have the Cobra Jet heads. It has the D2 PI heads on them. D2, are they OE? Oh, it's kind of dark. And hard to see. I need my light, and I don't have a light here. But they're D2 heads. Ah, here's my light. And I'll tell you the exact part number on the heads. They are D2OE A6, I think. But they're D2OE heads. And I believe they are PI heads. And they do have they have Cobra Jet intake valves put in them, and I think exhaust. They are the 2-inch 250 valves. They're the big valves. It's got a Corrosion cam in it. I don't really like this cam. It's a Corrosion hydraulic, and not that there's anything wrong with it being hydraulic, but it came with the engine. I bought the engine already built from some guy. Got a good deal on the engine, transmission, headers, and all. I bought this engine in 1988 and have not torn it down, which I don't drive a lot either. It has stayed in this car for a long time. But the Corrosion cam has more duration on intake than exhaust, which is the exact opposite of what I've always read to do to a Ford, and actually any performance engine. But it does have a little bit more duration on intake than exhaust, and you should always run, if you're going to have a split pattern cam, have a little more duration or lift on your exhaust side, because your exhaust valve is so much smaller the intake, especially with the 4s. There's a bigger difference on a lot of your 4s, especially your Cleveland heads and these big block 385 series heads. But it's got that cam in it, and it runs okay. It's about a 10-to-1 motor, maybe 10.5. It's got flat tops with those D2 heads. If it had the 70 heads, it would probably be 11-to-1 motor, or the early Cobra Jet heads, it would be an 11-to-1 motor. I don't have a lot of gear in it anymore. I'm running 279 gears, highway gears. I would like to put 391s back in it, maybe some 411s, get a better converter. Thought about an overdrive unit either, but I'm getting off the subject. Now you know what the engine is. And the carburetor is a Holley. It's either 800 or 850. I can't remember which. It's been on there a long time. I think it's an 850. But it was squared off with 80 jets. Maybe a little bit small, but it helped my mileage a little bit on the street. The car didn't get that bad of mileage, actually, with these 279 gears. And it ran good like that with pump gas. Like I said, a little bit of spark knot when you first started up, but not bad. But racing fuel, it loves racing fuel. It runs a lot better. So, with that being said, yesterday, I took it up to the fuel station. They just rebuilt, put new pumps in. I noticed they had the E85. So this car has a 15-gallon fuel cell in it. It had about 5 gallons left in it. I filled it up, pumped 10 gallons of E85 without doing a thing to the car. Got in it, made a couple miles down the road, car seemed about the same, and then it got really, really lean. It didn't stall or die on me. I didn't dare get on it, but it did exactly what I read it would probably do. They get lean. You're supposed to jet them up. Or by doing E85 conversion carb. They make carburetor kits. They sell the whole carburetor. But I'm going to show you what I did. Like I said, taking off from stoplights, you had to feather the gas to keep it from coughing and spitting. It was extremely lean, had a bad hesitation. So I easily drove it home and let it cool down, and got on the internet, did a little more research, and I found a chart for showing the jetting you should do when you try E85. And I'm going to show you that website here in a little bit too. And like I said, this had number 80 jets squared all the way around. I went by the chart. I put 85s up front and 87s in the back. Started it up, and it started right up, responded better, revved up better, no flat spot, but it didn't want to idle. And then all I did was adjust my idle mixture screws. This one has a 4-circuit idle, meaning the metering plates has adjustment screws in front and the back. I turned all 4 of those out about a quarter of a turn, maybe a little more, and the idle smoothed out. Got in it, took it for a drive, and I gotta tell you, the car had a lot more power. It doesn't smell. It doesn't, when you start it up, it doesn't chase you out of the garage with eye-watering fumes. It's got a lot more power. It burns clean. And I checked my plugs, and just from that one change, I got a pretty good burn. It could stand to be a little richer, but I do see some brown on the plug, not white. You don't want them white. That's a little too lean. But that's not bad for just making one small change. It didn't cost me anything. And for those of you who have never been inside a carburetor before and don't know what I mean by changing the jets, this is a Holley carburetor. Different types of carburetors have different looking jets in it, but this is old junk parts carburetor. Let's just pretend it's a complete carburetor. You will remove your fuel bowl, and here's your metering plate, and screwed into your metering plate are these jets right here. You take a screwdriver, here's a correct size one, and you just stick it in those slots, you screw them out, and the jets have numbers on them. Here's the 80s, which I pulled out of the carburetor. As you can see, it's written on there, and this is a jet kit you can get from Jegs or Summit. I've got a lot of different sizes. This goes from number 64 to 81, and this box goes from 82 all the way up to 99. You need that when you do drag racing and you're tuning your car. But there's how you change the jets on. That's all I did. Now, I read a lot of other stuff that they recommend you doing. You can buy E85 metering plates, and this website also says you can modify your metering plates. You screw this power valve out. I don't know if I have a metering plate with a power valve out of it. Yes, I do. And there's where the power valve's supposed to. See them holes right there? There and there. They showed where they drilled them out. I don't remember the hole sizes. But, well, I'm going to show you that website here in a minute. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shut the camera off, pause it. I'm going to put my spark plug back in, and we're going to do a cold start. That's the only thing I haven't tried yet. I figure if it's still way too lean, a cold start will tell you how lean it is. As you can see, this car has no choke. It is cold. Got my hand on the header. It has a manual choke, but you see I got it clamped open because it will suck shut on me when I get on the car, run it hard. So I'm going to pause the camera, put my plug in, and we're going to do a cold start. Okay, spark plug's in the car. I just want to show you one thing. Just wanted to give you a glimpse of what this gas looks like in glass. I wish I'd have gotten a better, clearer jar, but as you can see, it's perfectly clear. Doesn't have a really strong scent, and that's another thing I liked about when you work on a carburetor. Now, racing fuel, I like the smell of it. I don't mind the smell of it being on my hands for a while, But pump gas to me just stinks, and it stinks even worse when a car burns. It really burns your eyes. But this stuff here, it doesn't have a very strong smell. And I know when I worked on this car last night, I got the feel on my hands, and usually even after you take a shower for the night, regular pump gas will stink up your fingers for a while. This stuff here, very little odor left. Now, what I'm going to do is, let me make sure I put that plug wire on, just to be sure. Easy to forget simple things when you're doing something like making a video to distract yourself. But yeah, and okay, before I start it, one more thing. I'm thinking, come on Mark, start the car, start the car. But okay, it's 55 degrees, not super cold, but cool enough to tell me if I'm kind of lean for a cold start. This is the only thing I haven't really tested on this. And there's a lot of other issues that may come up, and I'm going to keep you updated on all that. Let me switch hands here so I can get my keys and the ignition. Got to do everything one-handed. Okay. Now I'm going to turn on my fuel pump. Ignition. Fans, won't need them yet. And 4 big squirts. Not bad for no choke, which this car has always run like that. It'll probably die here in a little bit. I don't want to give it a squirt and kill it. Needs a little more gas. There we go. That's pretty much the way it always started cold, because I have no choke. A little cold, gotta let it warm up. See how it does. It's kind of leaning out a little bit. It's a little, it could stand to be richened up a little bit, especially for cold weather, but hey, for what little time I put into this little experiment, that's not bad. That's not much different from the way it ran before. Seems a little leaner still when it's cold, but we're already getting rid of our little hesitation that you get when you're cold. Simulate a fast idle choke here. See, it kind of spluttered there a little bit, but that goes away when it's warmed up. That's your typical carburetor. You know, you make a choice. You put up with a little bit of cold-naturedness compared to about $3 grand to switch over to EFI, and plus all the troubleshooting and the sensors and blah, blah, blah. I'll spend 2 minutes warming up my car before I spend $3 grand and go through a bunch of trouble. EFI would be cool on this car, but carburetors got us to and from work and down the racetrack from 1900 whatever all the way up to 1985 or 6. So they're not completely useless the way a lot of people say they are. As you can see, there you go. I will let this thing warm up. I got a lot of moisture in my exhaust, and I smell a little bit of fuse, not a lot. It's not overwhelming. And so far, I like it. Now, like I said, let me get away from the car where you can hear me a little better. There's a lot of issues that may come up. I have done some research, and there is talk of corroding fuel lines and all that. And from what I read, you don't want regular old mild steel fuel lines like your old cars originally had. Mine doesn't have it. I got a plastic fuel cell in it, so I don't have to worry about steel tank corroding. If you do have a steel tank, You have the option of buying, most older cars do have plastic replacement tanks, or if you want your steel tank, you can also buy a pour-in liner, which is for repairing old rusty tanks with loose stuff in it. You pour this stuff in, it's like an epoxy, and you just pour it in and just kind of flip your tank around, and what it does is it just seals all the rust away. And if you want to try this E85, it might be a good thing to do to your clean steel tank to keep that steel from corroding. And I'm not so sure if it's as corrosive as they say, because I've read other forums where they say they have had no corrosion problems. I do have aluminum fuel lines running all the way up to the carb. That may do some oxidizing, I don't know. If it does, all I have to do is do something I've been wanting to do and never got around to doing, and that would be to put the braided steel lines on it, because those are rubber or neoprene lines, and that will solve that problem. Now, I'm going to leave this thing running. Let me make sure I turn my fans on. It's on a thermostat. Yeah, my fans are on. And as you can see, it's liking it. And now that's warmed up, this E85 gas, I get quicker response. The car sounds crisper and louder when you top it out right before you shift it. I shift the old car at about 5,500. I don't take the big block up very high. But I mean, at the top of the shift, this thing was really pulling my head back against the seat. And it's got 279 gears in it, so it's very noticeable difference in power. Now we will come in here and I'm just going to show you this website that I found, and there's a bunch of other stuff. If you do a search, got it already brought up for you. Here's what it looks like. Now I don't know how well, here's the web address right here. It's just a good start, and it shows you a lot of stuff. Get this mouse down here, and there's your jet chart. That's all I did. It says for primary jets, see, I had 80s for gas, and for E85s, it tells you to jump to 85. I mean, this is a starting point now. This isn't etched in stone and what you have to do exactly. But it gets you in the ballpark. And like I said, I could standard jet it a little richer. And on your secondaries, they recommend you up it a little more. I had 80s, and they recommend actually 89s. And I was wrong. I told you 87s. I put 89s in it, I'm pretty sure. And it seems like the higher the jet that you was originally running, okay, so it's, see, like I had 80s, they recommended a 5 number step up. Okay, see, if you was running 83s, they recommended 6 numbers, and higher the jet, it seems like the more. So there's that. And this guy here is showing, so there's little to no problem from moisture since the fuel system, when you're using EFI. Said with the carburetor, car vents are open outside air, will allow it to absorb will allow E85 to absorb, sorry, I'm stuttering here, moisture. When ethanol and water are mixed, it will form a mild acid. This is where the corrosion from using E85 comes from. Keep the moisture out, you will not have corrosion problems. And it's also saying guys in the southeast will be affected, which is me. I live in the Rust Belt, so I get a lot of moisture. So I'm going to find out what it does. Southwest, very little problems, if any. And if you store your car, they recommend you drain the carburetor and fill the bowls with gas, start it, then pump the gas pedal a few times to get the gas and accelerator pump, blah, blah, blah. Top the bowls off. When you start next time, just burn the regular gas off and turn the E85 pump on. So I'm just planning on starting this car out once a week, and I'm going to see how it does as it sets. And like I said, I didn't do everything. All I did was jet it richer, and it's mostly a test. Here's this guy drilling out those holes I showed you about. do they call those holes? Ah, drill size. Okay. I'm not sure. Okay, got that. Showing your drill size. Okay. I'm not sure what the 44 versus the decimal is. I know the decimal is your actual drill size, but I think it's a gauge. Okay, I'm not sure what that is. And they make replaceable inserts for those holes. You can adjust them, I believe. Your E85 ready metering plates have those, I think. See, it's showing a lot of good info. If you either can spend the money on E85 ready stuff, and here is an E85 high performance metering block from Quickfill. As you can see, it has all the good stuff in it. And I think all of those, okay, they pre-drill something here. I think it's some passages in there. And get those, which might be replaceable. So you can try different sizes. Yeah, but anyway, that's just to give you an idea. Now, I was looking at the E85 conversion kits on Summit, and they give you fuel bowls, stainless steel squirters, and all. It's about $300 for my carburetor, I think, or it might be for a Dominator. And speaking of Dominators, that's what the race car has. Also found a website where they had cars that run low sixes in the 8th mile, which is about what mine does. They switched to E85 and they're loving it. And even as long as I can make the car ran what it ran, I would be happy. But we're talking switching from over $8 a gallon racing fuel to E85, which cost me $2.39 a gallon as of yesterday. Fuel prices are down. So nice and warm. Another thing I noticed, my exhaust temperatures, I wish I'd have checked them before and after. I wish I had one of those little laser thermometers, but they're not as extreme as they were. I mean, it used to be, you stick your head in this engine compartment, it was like sticking your face next to a wood stove that's been burning all day. And yeah, there you go. Nice and warmed up, temperature's up, the fan's already kicked on and off. Like I said, I haven't played with squirters or any of the other stuff. I just wanted to try this before I spent a lot of money on it, because I didn't want to spend a bunch of money and decide that I don't like the fuel. I mean, for all I know, it could have slowed the car down, but I don't think it did. Now, for daily drivers, I don't know if you want to do it or not, because it does take more fuel to make it run right, meaning you're probably going to lose some fuel mileage. But for something like this, when you want more horsepower, that's the basic concept of making horsepower, is adding parts that force more air and fuel through the engine, which usually adds up to more horsepower. At least that's the way it was done in the old days. For fuel injected cars with computers and stuff, it's a little more complicated, but it can be done. Some people are claiming you don't lose as much mileage as some of the bad rumors are saying, but this is something you have to experiment with. But anyway, we'll call this video a Flex Fuel Torino, and I'm going to keep you updated. A lot of moisture in it. That has nothing to do with the fuel. This exhaust has always been this way. It sweats a lot. That's why you got to start them up and let them run, especially through the winter. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going to keep you updated on how this works out. If I have any problems, I will let you know. And for you guys who are thinking about it, if you can learn from what little problems I have from this, if I have any. Thanks for watching.